A very warm welcome to you, and thank you so much for joining our Homeopathy 24/7 podcast. We are going to be speaking to an array of international guests who will share their knowledge and experiences of homeopathy with you. We will discuss all types of subjects such as remedies, symptoms, and stories of health. No matter where you are with your homeopathic journey, we aim to inspire you on your quest to natural health and living. The podcast is brought to you by Mary Greensmith, the founder of Homeopathy 24/7, which is a global platform connecting you with a homeopath wherever you are in the world, 24 hours a day. So let's get started with today's chat. Please welcome Mary Greensmith.
Thank you so much for joining me, Ciara and Anthony. How are you this happy day?
Great.
Ladies first. You go first.
Thank you. Well, I'm very well, Mary. Thank you very much. I can't believe it's December, and I can't believe we're in Christmas mode, so to speak. Even if we're not, the world seems to be turning, and here we are. So, yeah, all good. Thank you.
I am very jealous because I haven't got the Christmas hat. But who is that beside you, Ciara? Who have you brought along today?
I've brought along. I've decided to christen him as my Robin with a thyroid problem, because he's got kind of an issue with his eyes, and his general demeanor is just looking a bit out of sorts. But we won't judge him or her. We're going to just listen and be here to kindly come up with remedies for the bird. But anyway, that's that's a by the way. No, we're delighted to be here to talk about the wonderful tradition that started 2,000 years ago, and that's giving gifts at Christmas. And I'm sure, Mary, you're going to do a much better introduction. But yeah, it's nice we can sit here and have a chilled out, relaxed chat as the festive season begins.
Well, I'm very much hoping that we can do that, and it's so lovely to be able to chat with you guys. Anthony, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm in South Africa. It's nice and warm, no cold. I'm loving it, and I think a lot of people at this time of year, we just want a break. It's been a long year, and just want to regenerate. And maybe they're even enjoying it, looking at these podcasts and taking some recreational time for this. So, Ciara, let's give them some bang for their buck and help them to relax.
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's go for it. So I thought, with it being Christmas, we could talk about perhaps gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And obviously, presents given 2,000 years ago, and let's talk about why and how they are relevant to homeopathy. What do you think?
We'll give it a go. So, Ciara, again, ladies first, why don't you start with the gold?
The gold, yeah. Well, you know what? It was actually when Mary suggested we speak on this topic, I thought it was quite a genius thing to do, really, because, I suppose for so many people at this time of year, the whole message of giving, of gifts, is completely lost in the whole materialistic end of things. And it's lovely to actually sit here and pause and think, why were these gifts given? The history around it and the significance of the gold, frankincense, and myrrh. I suppose starting off with gold, in my practice, it probably would be the remedy of all three that I would end up giving to people most.
I will say that, amen to that. That is correct.
Yeah, amen to that.
Well, yeah.
And I suppose when you think of when you think of gold, what do we all think of? It's one of the most precious metals, shiny, beautiful, heavy, and we all want to have the purest form of gold to gift or to receive. The wedding bands are made from gold. Going back time immemorial, it's such a significant gift. And yes, in the world of homeopathy, I think that Aurum is always thought about for depression, for that heavy feeling. And when I think of Aurum, the letter H comes into my mind. We've got, it's the metal itself, of course, it's a very heavy metal, but when a person is in an Aurum state or needing Aurum as a remedy, the heaviness that they have on a mental level, on emotional level, spiritual level is so pervasive to them. It's impossible for them to get rid of this hugely heavy feeling. So that H for heaviness, H for heart, the oppressive feeling that they have hugely around the heart area, the heart chakra. And of course then one feeling that I would hugely associate with somebody who needs Aurum is hopelessness. There is this incredible lack of hope in their lives. They feel no one will ever understand. And often they come from a place where, on a mental, emotional level, because that's where I kind of see most of my cases, you have this huge fall from grace, a huge unwillingness for people to reach out and ask for help. So yeah, there's so many. Even now that I'm talking about it, I find I'm sighing. I'm kind of going, you know, your heart breaks for somebody who's in an Aurum state because they're hanging on by a thread. And then I suppose with the physiological end of things, or the physical end of things, it can be a remedy that's hugely overlooked. Head pain, headaches. There's a very specific type of pain. You've got that really boring kind of pain. A lot of people will describe, especially as a right-sided head pain that's very much kind of in the right eye area, and then in your bones, that kind of boring bone pain. So I'm just kind of giving you the kind of keynotes as I've seen it in practice. But it's a beautiful, beautiful remedy. When you see it working, you can literally see that kind of lightness moving into somebody's aura, to somebody's personal space. And just to give somebody that sense of hope is priceless. It's the best gift you could give. So to me, it almost, you know, signifies everything that Jesus represents, the gift of life. You're giving somebody the gift of hope, the gift of life back.
That's such a good analogy, isn't it? Because even I've got a little note here that I found in one of the repertories saying, longing to see one's relationships, nostalgia, you know, imagines he's lost the affections of friends. And actually all of these things we see, obviously, you know, Christmas is a very joyful time, but it also can be a very sad time, can't it? And it can be a very painful time for people that haven't got people around them that they would wish to be with. So despair of oneself and of others, ill humour and aversion to conversation, quarrelsome humour, you know, all of these things, anger and passion, we see coming out around this time in many households. So it perhaps is a really good Christmas or winter remedy as well, isn't it?
Yeah. And I was just looking earlier as well on my various materia medica, and one note I came across was only praying to God can relieve them, which I thought was very, very interesting as well. So yeah, it is actually, if I was to describe Aurum, it is the remedy that keeps on giving. It's the gift that keeps on giving. The more you delve into it, the more you find of it. And as homeopaths, you know, we always learn. We learn from our patients, we learn from our books, we learn from each other. And even though we've prescribed Aurum countless times, we think we know it, there's always something else we find that it gives to us, just as we can gift to other people through remedies.
So you guys have exhausted almost all the homeopathic indications. I'm going to come at it from a different angle. So when we look at gold, I'm talking dental-wise. You know, you used to, and sometimes they still use gold in the mouth, but gold is electrically neutral. So you're not going to get a battery type situation set up in your mouth if you've got gold in your mouth. So that is really good. Our bodies are biological systems. So each cell releases a certain amount of electricity. It's minus 20 millivolts. And if you've got different voltages or different metals in your mouth, it can set up a battery and it can cause illness. And the nice thing about gold is it doesn't do that. So it's electrically inert. So looking at it more from the philosophical point of view, or maybe you want to call it from the Christian point of view, gold, the gift of gold, it's representing the kingship and Christ being the king. That was one of the gifts, being the gold. And as you were saying, Ciara, that you can extrapolate that out. Well, that is often seen in the provings of gold. All of these things, the essence of it.
Perfect. So we understand why it would have been given as a gift in that time, and obviously its relevance to us now, giving Aurum to help people survive. So let's have a look at frankincense, because obviously that 2000 years ago would have been useful, I think, as a cleanser, as an oil, as a perfume. Is that right?
Yeah, it was more of a perfume, like an incense. And
Okay.
if I'm not mistaken, did they use the incense in like churches as well? The incense, the frankincense, that was it. And if I talk about frankincense from a medical perspective, and I'm saying medical, I'm not saying homeopathic. I don't really use it much homeopathically, but from the herbal sense, use it a lot. It is an anti-inflammatory.
Okay.
So, you know, people today might be very familiar with anti-inflammatory when they talk about turmeric. Well, the frankincense, or the Boswellia, as it's called, can be also used in that sense, very much from the joints. And in my thyroid travels and studies, it's very effective for autoimmune conditions. So, you know, we talk about the rheumatoid arthritis, but you can take that as far as Crohn's, which is also an autoimmune disease. And it works really wonderfully well and really quickly as an anti-inflammatory, very, very similar to the anti-inflammatories you might get from Western medicine.
And so as a herbal remedy, Anthony, how do you use it? Do you put it on as an oil, or do you take it internally?
Okay, so it's internally. You can get it as a tincture, you can get it in a capsule form, and pharmautically they've certain amount of milligrams that you take, and it works very effectively, very quickly.
Okay.
Things like gout as well, it helps a lot with. So your joints lumber up, and you've got so much more flexibility. The aches and pains have gone. The arthritis, the osteoarthritis, you know, it started with osteoarthritis and then moved over to the rheumatoid arthritis, working very well. The other medical aspect that I can say it works really well with, it stops the tumor necrosis factor alpha. Okay, that is something that is expelled by our immune systems, and that when that raises, you start to get arthritic type pains. So the Boswellia reduces that.
It's very interesting. I'm just listening to you as I am listening to you, of course. But it reminds me of when I was a kid growing up in Ireland. Obviously, you know, Mass and Christmas was hugely important, and going into the church and I've lost the name of the thing that they spread the incense using.
Yeah.
I know there's a particular name for it, but I always find immediately when you get that scent or smell, your whole body just relaxes. It just gives you that lovely Zen kind of vibe. And I think it's kind of a lovely extension of what you're saying, Anthony, around the use of it, you know, for anti-inflammatory, for joints, and, you know, the memory of smell, and just as a substance, how powerful it is. It's beautiful, beautiful. substance
And
and tincture and so on.
and it can be used, or it is used in essential oils.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah. So obviously, as you know, Jesus was given it as a present, as an incense, that oil for that health benefit. It makes sense that it, it has got these health properties. So as we said, we have found it as a homeopathic remedy, but it's not a remedy that we use at all in our practices on a regular basis. So the extra notes that I found there that it might be useful for was exactly the same as Anthony said, with anti-inflammatory, also asthma and blemishes and acne. So, again, swellings on the skin, as well as in the lungs, in the joints, everything else as well. So apparently it also was found to be used 5,000 years ago by the ancient Egyptian in the embalming process. So that's really useful information about Boswellia, which is...
So if you think about that and you talk about the embalming, I mean, that body is in essence rotting and it's swelling. So this Boswellia is an anti-inflammation.
Yeah, yeah. So also asthma. And asthma is really interesting there, isn't it? With, everything that goes on in the lungs whilst people are suffering from asthma. And perhaps that might be an area where it might be worth as well having a look at where Boswellia fits in with our remedies there. Let's go on to myrrh. What is myrrh?
Myrrh, I'll start with myrrh. My understanding of myrrh is very limited, but in the thyroid space, because I'm concentrating on thyroid, I've got this theory about thyroid and the thyroid type person. I call it my Hesh's personality. Okay, and these people are very, what's the word? They're perfectionists. Everything has to be a certain way, and if it isn't sorted out like that, then they stress out tremendously. They have a very good ability to always want to help and to give, but they struggle to receive. And this is one of the functions, can I say functions of myrrh? And we're talking homeopathically now. It'll help you to receive more easily. So these Hash's personality type patients, the myrrh helps them with that. And as I said, they're perfectionists and they're peacekeepers. So if there's ever any ructions, they don't like that. Everything must be peaceful, and that is often a causation for Hashimoto's, because there's something that they want to say or they're upset about something, but they keep the peace all the time. No confrontations. And then that emotion gets suppressed in their body. So myrrh is really good at getting to help them to let that out and to be more balanced in that sense. I think, and this might just be a one-sided thought here, but I think our society makes us into what is a good person. And you've got to fix into all of those lines of what a good person is. Otherwise, you're wrong, or if I take it to the extreme, going to hell. And it's not that. It's being able to express your thoughts in a way that the other person can see it. Okay, well, I don't totally agree with you, but you can have your say, and I've got my say. But in the society today, so many people are stuck in this thing where they just have to be in that box of being this perfect person. And that lends to thyroid conditions. And as I said, myrrh is quite good at that. Myrrh, if you ever, maybe can I say tasted it, it's very, very bitter. They talk about the bitterness of myrrh. So, these people are wanting to be peacemakers all the time, wanting everything to be perfectly, but actually they're not expressing what they're really feeling and the bitterness inside. So that would be looking at the like cures like of homeopathy.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I've got a beautiful little thing here that says myrrh is the precious gift for softening of suffering. So its benefits just helping with those anti-catarrh, anti-inflammatory, antifungal, antimicrobial, antiseptic, antispasmodic, antiviral, antistringent. So lots of different ways to be used as a cleanser, really, which of course covers so many different areas, doesn't it?
And it's quite expensive, actually. If you look at, you're talking about cleansers, very, very expensive. From the essential oil perspective, it's right up there on one of the most expensive. And frankincense also is very, very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where they talk about not the purity, okay, I'm putting my hand up. The word is, they talk about the preciousness of it. So do we have to do that part again? So when we look at myrrh, on the money scale, it's a very expensive essential oil, and very similar to frankincense. Actually, the preciousness of that commodity you can see in the price of the essential oil.
And I suppose 2,000 years ago, even more expensive. I don't know where would it have come from? Any ideas?
I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's from the Arabic countries.
Okay, so around there. Yes, I have got a note of it being used again 3,000-4,000 years before Christ. Egypt, Syria, Palestine, the Roman Empire used it at funerals to honor their dead. So very much something of the kings and the top people.
There must have been a huge clairvoyance among those kings as well, because, the fact that it's about anti-suffering, the suffering ahead of the life of Christ. And even again, just reading up on this, there's 250 species of the Commiphora have been documented. Most of them have thorns, which if you think kind of, the crown of thorns. So it's it's an amazing it's an amazing substance when you do read up on it. And thyroid, vertigo, wounds, hemorrhoids, it's got boundless reasons to use it.
Yeah, they all seem to have much larger pictures than we would first imagine, don't they?
Yeah, you've really opened a nice can of worms here, Mary, with
more research, always more research needed, isn't there?
Yeah, exactly. But it's a beautiful remedy, and the themes of kind of separation and death and so on as well. It's it could be one that's really beautiful for other emotional traumas in life, grief, divorce, and so on. So we'll have to get sit down on Christmas and read up as much as we can on these remedies.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing about homeopathy is I just had an email today from somebody explaining, I'm just starting this and I'm quite nervous about having to learn so much. And so my answer, of course, is it is a lot of information, homeopathy, but you never stop learning. So you might as well just enjoy the journey and understand that once you start with this one, it is ongoing, but you don't have to remember every aspect.
Exactly.
That's a beauty, that we've got reference books. I think in our society it's like a bit frowned upon. You're supposed to have everything in your head and you must have it at your fingertips like this.
Yeah.
You can't do that with homeopathy. And actually, I think it's the other way around. You're actually seen as a wise practitioner if you've got your books there, or maybe nowadays it's on your computer, but you look at that all the time.
Exactly. I think that's absolutely right. And so that hopefully gives hope to everybody learning a little bit more about homeopathy this Christmas. Thank you so much for joining me. And I hope that you will come and see what we're doing next week. Thank you, Ciara. Thank you, Anthony. Lovely to see you this Christmas.
Thank you.
Right.
Bye.
Thank you so much, Anthony and Ciara. So lovely to see you, and so fantastic that we've been able to get together at Christmas and talk about homeopathy and find out so much, do some research, talk about some remedies that we don't actually know very well, because that's all about learning about homeopathy. We can't be expected to know everything. We have to always be looking things up. Next week, I am going to be talking to you about what we've achieved over 2022. It's been such a productive year. We want to go through that and tell you about a few offers that we've got for the 12 days of Christmas. I look forward to seeing you then.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode and look forward to listening to our next one. Please don't forget to follow our podcast on your chosen channel, and please do leave us a review so we can continue to share homeopathy with as many people as possible. If you do have any questions, please do reach out to us on any of our social platforms mentioned in the show notes. We at Homeopathy 24/7 hope to empower you on your natural health journey.